Hello, everybody, and welcome into Blue Jays Today, where we always have some to say about the Toronto Blue Jays. Coming to you from the Sports Interaction Studio, I'm your host, Nicholas Playlog.
And I'm your host, Adam Peddle. And last night, the Dodgers forced Game 7. It's going to be absolutely insanity tonight. The Blue Jays have a chance to bring home the trophy for the first time in over 30 years, or it will all be for nothing. We're going to break down what happened last night, some of the mistakes we really want to highlight and criticize as well. We got to look at forward to tonight's game. Max Scherzer on the bump. We're going to break it down, but before we do, make sure to hit that like button and smash that subscribe button. Also, if you got the hype button, hit the hype button as well. Now, last night they lose 3-1. Give me your first kind of thoughts after a good night's sleep, hopefully, about last night's game.
It was just frustration, really. Yamamoto is quite literally one of the better pitchers I think I've ever seen. And when he is in the middle of his work and doing his craft, it is actually something masterful to watch. That Blue Jays offense, once again, did not look like themselves in the 6 innings that he was on the bump. 1 earned run, 5 hits, 6 strikeouts. We don't strike out that much, or we should not strike out that much. But Yamamoto is just a really special guy. So hats off to him. But after that, this is where the frustration starts to come in, because you get the bullpen out there and there's a couple opportunities anywhere where the Toronto Blue Jays have some chances. And of course, we got to talk about that 9th inning. You have somebody get on base right there. It was Alejandro Kirk who got hit by a pitch. Then following that, Addison Barger, really hard hit double. And what the hell happens? The ball gets lodged, gets stuck in between the turf and then the wall. I mean,
I've never seen this happen.
And neither of the Blue Jays players, literally. They came in afterwards and was like, that's literally never happened before. And it was just one of those freak things where at the perfect speed, at the perfect angle, it lodged itself in there. And I know that a lot of people online are getting pissed off at the Dodgers for not playing that ball. But honestly, he probably did the smart thing and made it clear to everyone this ball is lodged. And it was just a shit situation.
Guys, if maybe people haven't watched baseball before, and maybe you're new to baseball, and that's totally okay. And if you've never seen this play, let me explain it to you. This is a ground rule double. And part of the ground rule double is when a ball becomes unplayable, whether it be bouncing out of the stands, right? Bouncing from, in play into out of the stands. Or something like this happens where it gets lodged in the wall. Cubs Stadium has that little, kind of vegetation on the wall out there in the center field. Sometimes it gets lost in there. You can't play it, right? When things obstruct that, then this happens, and it's a ground rule double. I got a bunch of texts last night from family members who were like, what's going on? I've never seen this before. It's a ground rule double, and the advance only 2 bases for the base runner.
Well, let me speak just quickly on that, okay? Because when I woke up this morning, I was just inundated with a bunch of social media clips of people, of Blue Jays fans, saying the MLB is out to get us, saying MLB has got their hands in this thing, and there's some conspiracy theory going on about how the Toronto Blue Jays are getting screwed over by the umps, by MLB.
Because of this play?
This was one of the things that they were highlighting a bunch. Can we please stop with the conspiracy theories? I understand that back in 2015, there was a couple weird plays that went down there where the umpires were certainly not favoriting the Toronto Blue Jays, and I get how you may be triggered by that. But looking over at some of the umpire scorecards here from the World Series, it is abundantly clear that we are not getting screwed over. And in fact, we've actually had it pretty good in this postseason. They don't have the scorecard from yesterday, but Toronto has been getting the better of, I guess, the run differential from the umpire in 3 out of the 5 games that we played previously. And when you do all the math, we've been given about close to 1 additional run over the LA Dodgers. It's all of those crazy good frame jobs from Alejandro Kirk.
Yeah, that's crazy. I think we're stealing a lot more strikes right now.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. So if any narrative of getting screwed over, it's not happening. Listen, I'll be the first one to tell you, right? Because I was there in 2015 when I felt like I'm screwed over, and that was a screw over. That was unbelievably terrible umpiring, but not in this series.
No.
I think it's been very, very solid. And if you're going to point to anything that's going on, point to Yamamoto on the other side of things. And also, you could point a little bit to what happened after the fact with Addison Barger.
Yes.
We had runners at second and third with nobody out. And obviously, we couldn't get to George Springer, which was the third man due up after the fact to try and drive in the go-ahead or the tying run, excuse me. What happened was very quick. Ernie Clement popped it up. I believe it was like the first pitch he popped it up. Literally the first pitch popped up, first baseman, can't get a sac fly, one gone. But then Andres Jimenez, who, again, I'm still shocked that we even went to Andres Jimenez in this situation. I'm surprised no pinch hitter came out for him because he's been having a pretty bad postseason right now. He stayed in, and what happened is he hit a ball into the outfield. It was caught by Kike Hernandez, and then Miguel, who was it? Yeah, Kike Hernandez.
Yes, it was.
And then thrown out to second to Miguel Rujas as the Barger gets out. Double play. He was leaning off of the bag. He was halfway through. He had a bad read, and he gets thrown out. He even comes out and talks about it afterwards, saying, I was pretty surprised he got to it off the bat. I thought it was going to go over the shortstop head. I didn't think it was going to travel that far. It was kind of a bad read. Now, what happened was, and I remember this from last night, they were playing shallow in the outfield. They really were, because they wanted to cut the run down at home in case of a sac fly or whatnot. They were playing shallow to cut down a run in case a runner from second was trying to score from home. So they were playing shallow. So for me, it looked like Barger didn't have a good read, off the bat, but also understanding where his outfielders were. He was off the bag, because normally that would be a base hit. It was really shallow, but he didn't have a good read and understanding that, and that cost the game.
Yeah, look, he fucked up. I mean, there's no other way to put it. That was a mistake. I'm sure that he would, as he did, come out and say and own that mistake. There was some discourse online by some idiots saying that Addison Barger's got to get off this team. He can't play here. Like, what is he doing? Stupid. That is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. People make mistakes, everybody. That was a mistake, and he will obviously own up to that. But large in part, he has been a demon in this postseason for the Toronto Blue Jays. He's got an OPS over 1, and the only reason why that felt so deflating in the first place was because he hit that double. And we were thinking, oh, wow, there's a guy at second and at third with nobody out. This is our chance. So obviously, it is very frustrating after the fact to lose in that capacity. And now with Game 7 coming up tonight, like, you can't be getting doubled up like that, and that's something that he has got to be aware of, and the entire team has got to be aware of. We have to be aware of where everyone's playing, and we got to be sure that that thing's going to be a base hit before we start taking off, as anxious as we are in that moment to score.
Yeah, I think that's what it was, right? He was anxious. He's still a young kid, right? 25 years old, younger than Nick and I, which is crazy to say, and he's out here doing amazing things right now for your Toronto Blue Jays. And like to Nick saying, we wouldn't be here without him, so don't hate on the kid. Let's hope that this fuels him for tonight to get something magical done. Now, speaking of tonight, I want to talk about a couple things that we should be looking for in terms of the offense, because obviously the offense, they got 8 hits yesterday, which is not their greatest performance, but still 8 hits. They can only score 1 run. They were 1 for 9, so they got to do better in that regards. But John Schneider as well has a couple decisions he's got to make. I want to start off first with the idea of maybe moving Dalton Varsho down in the lineup. I was defending him last night because I think he's had some great moments in this postseason, but we could see now with a bigger sample size, it's been pretty bad for Varsho in the World Series. He's only 4 for 26 in that 5 and 6 spot, and he's got a batting average of 192. He's got 1 homer, 1 triple, and like again, his big hits are big hits, and they're loud and they're proud. But for me, right now, when you're getting the guys in the top of the lineup getting on base, I kind of need somebody to drive him in, and we saw multiple times last night him not come up with big moments. Felt like Alejandro Kirk was leading off every other inning because he kept getting out. Thoughts on maybe moving him down? Because I would honestly put up the other guy, Ernie Clement, up there, who's been phenomenal. 12-game hit streak up there. Thoughts on that idea for Game 7, or is John Schneider going to ride and die with what
I think that he'll probably ride and die with what he's got, man. I think that, like, for the longest time, it's always been about extending the lineup and lengthening that lineup. Like, that's always been what they've talked about and wanted to do. And I have found that, you know, a lot of times they'll put in kind of a lesser offensive player in between Alejandro Kirk and then some of the other guys in the lineup. And then you have like kind of 2 waves of, you know, elite hitting right there. But the problem is that last night especially, it just felt like we'd always get into a spot where it's 2 outs and Varsho comes up, whether there be a base runner on or not. and he's not going to come up. So then you're ending up with Kirk leading off the inning. So yeah, we're kind of lengthening out the lineup. It's still a tough inning the following inning, but the overall goal here is to actually score runs. So, it's like, I like that the next inning is going to be difficult for the pitcher, but I'd rather we just scored in the previous inning when we come up with a base hit. So
I've always been under the impression, like, you got to stack your best hitters because, like, you got to put the most likely guys to get hits all together.
Yeah, your best chance to drive in the run. I tend to agree with you. I don't think, though, that you can expect a change in tonight's lineup.
He definitely won't. Ernie's been in the 8-hole, 7-hole the entire series because that's how he's been getting hot down there. Same with Barger. I don't think Barger's moving anywhere. He only moved up to the 4 spot because George Springer was out of the lineups just to add a little bit more pop in the top of the lineup. But I don't think it's moving anywhere. It just kind of sucks because, like, again, like, we've had multiple chances with runners scoring position, and he's part of that 1 for 9, which was last night.
Right.
Because he doesn't have a high batting average. Like, I'd rather have him down in the 8-hole. Like, oh, we get something popped up down here, or pop off down here. Great, right? If not, whatever. This is the bottom lineup anyways. But whatever. I'm not the manager of the Blue Jays. I don't get paid the big bucks. Now, another thing, though, that I've been saying last night, and I'm shocked that we didn't do this, was pinch hit for Andres Gimenez in a situation where it was clearly time to pinch hit for Andres Gimenez. John Schneider this entire postseason has never shied away from his lefty matchups, lefty on righty, righty on lefty in terms of, batters to their other pitchers. And last night was a prime example. You had a lefty on the mound in the bottom of the 7th. Ernie Clement hit a 2-out double, and you had Andres Gimenez come up, who was a lefty, and he's facing a lefty. So that's a mismatch. I am shocked, knowing John Schneider and the way he plays baseball, he decided not to go to a David Schneider, who's a righty. Straw already came in to pitch run in this situation for, I believe it was, Alejandro Kirk, or was that 2? No, that was a little bit later in the game. I'm shocked that we didn't go to the right-handed hitter in David Schneider, because you look at Andres Gimenez, 130 in this World Series. Like, he had a couple great moments in the ALCS, but not here in the World Series. Are you surprised like I am?
Buck and Dan were talking about this as it was happening, and their conclusion was effectively that he was prioritizing defense in that moment, which I do think is really silly, just because
you're down by 2.
We're down. It's like, I mean, we can afford, we got to score, right? I know, it's a luxury to be worrying about giving up runs at this point. We got to actually score some ourselves, and we weren't capable of doing it. I don't understand. Sorry, excuse me, guys. I'm very ill. I don't understand the vendetta or whatever. I don't want to speculate too much, but it just feels like we're out for Davis Schneider, and Davis Schneider never gets enough opportunities on this team. I mean, the other day when he led off, it was like 1 pitch, 1 home run, and we never looked back. Right? He is such a quality baseball player, and I do agree with you. Hindsight is 20/20. You never know what would happen. Maybe David Schneider strikes out and it doesn't mean anything, and it's all for naught. Could have happened.
Jimenez struck out anyway, so
exactly right. I do think that we would have had a better opportunity with David Schneider in that moment, and I hope that tonight, when I assume runs will once again be at a premium, because you're going to have effectively the entirety of the Dodgers pitching staff available and going, other than Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I hope that we will prioritize getting some offense and scoring some runs.
Now, you got to imagine there will be some lefties coming out. Depends on who they're throwing out, because we're going to speculate on which pitchers they're going to throw. But you got to imagine, hopefully, David Schneider gets an opportunity, whether it be pinch hitting or starting the game, in some capacity, depending on the matchup, and we learn from our lesson. Now, I want to give a little bit of perspective right here, just on this entire series. The Dodgers won 3 games with Yoshinobu Yamamoto on the mound for 2 of them, and then you had Tyler Glasnow in the other, right? And we might get a version of that tonight, so anything could happen. But you look at the 2 games that Yamamoto won, he's been really dominating, carrying this team. Honestly, I think if the Dodgers win tonight, he deserves the MVP.
He needs to get the MVP,
because
actually, yeah.
He's been phenomenal. He's basically pitched what? Math.
15 innings, 2 earned runs.
15 innings, 2 earned runs, shutting down the red-hot Blue Jays offense. And just look at these pitch locations. Again, if you are casual and this might mean nothing to you, very simple. Ball over the heart of the plate, that's a mistake. Look at Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Do you see that white right in the center there?
There's a hole in the middle.
There's a hole. He didn't throw a single ball over the heart of the plate for damage. And to give comparison right now, Gausman throw up a quality start. You can see a couple mistakes, right? Some yellows leaking over there, some reds leaking down, some of the splitters leaking up. That's okay, but most of his pitches were great last night. Not a single one. So hats off to Yoshi.
Yeah.
We said it a couple days ago that we're probably going to lose the Yoshi start, but that's why we had to win game 5. But now we're here in game 7. We got to lock this.
Yeah, I mean, what he's done in the postseason is one of the greatest pitching stretches I've ever seen, and this is gonna sound like mega glaze, because I guess it is, but
deservingly so.
No, he might genuinely be one of the best pitchers I've ever watched when
100%.
he's working, because he's so smart and he's a step ahead of every hitter, and then you see him in the dugout doing his homework again, and you're like, how can you possibly be locked in when you're like in your book like that, and then he just comes out and he executes, and it's like.
I'd pay $300 million for that guy.
Oh,
yeah.
In fact, it's looking like an underpay at this current juncture time. Either way, good news is he's in the rearview mirror.
Yep.
We never need to think about him again. Tonight, though, it is going to be Max Scherzer starting for your Toronto Blue Jays. And over there for the LA Dodgers, it was supposed to be Tyler Glasnow. I assume it is still going to be Tyler Glasnow.
Yeah.
He only threw 3 pitches yesterday when he came out in relief. So he was actually that's crazy.
I know.
It was no outs. And he threw 3 pitches and he got all of the outs. So, I mean, credit to Tyler Glasnow. That's about as efficient as you can be right there. So it will probably be Tyler Glasnow on top of having Shohei Ohtani in the mix. And, honestly, anyone that the Dodgers got, man. I think effectively they are all available here.
Yeah.
Even Roki could be.
Roki.
I mean, you gotta go, right? And that's the same with us as well. For the Toronto Blue Jays, Trey Savage came out after the game and was like, I will be 100% available. Everyone is available here other than Kevin Gausman. That's it. Every single person that you see on our fucking team could come out and throw a baseball today, and you're gonna see some wild and wonky decisions. There could be a 3rd inning, it's like, we don't like this matchup. We don't love what Max is doing. We're going to make a change. I hope that John Schneider doesn't get too far and too deep in his dome, but this is like an all hands on deck. Everyone is pitching today.
Yeah, for the Blue Jays, Max Scherzer is obviously going to start, but then you got Shane Bieber, just like it is R4, therefore, Ohtani's there 4, Bieber's R4. You're going to have Bieber kind of in the wings, and he was phenomenal in his last start, so I kind of like that. And Max Scherzer did just enough to help out the boys. He wasn't phenomenal his last start, but he did just enough. He did a quality Max Scherzer thing, so he'll start. Bieber's going to come in. And some point right after, you might see a situation where Louis Varland comes out yet again.
He will.
Keeps pitching these gosh darn games. Louis Varland, and then probably Jeff Hoffman yet again. He didn't pitch last night, actually. So it'll probably be those combination of pitchers. And then you might see something crazy like a Trey Savage happen. So with all that being said, those guys up against Shohei Ohtani, Tyler Glasnow. You gotta imagine some Roki Sasaki, probably a Blake Trinan, which might be
a Blake Snell. If we're throwing out you Savage, why can't Blake Snell go?
Might be a Blake Snell. And he did say, Dave Roberts did say Blake Snell could be coming out of some capacity. So all those pitchers versus our pitchers, our lineup versus their lineup. Overall thoughts, and who do you think is going to win the World Series?
Well, overall thoughts first is that I love this. It's really cool that, this is going to a Game 7. And at the very least, I want it to be clear to everybody, if Toronto loses, you can walk away with your head held high that David came really fucking close to beating Goliath. And we did push these guys to a Game 7. That being said, though, I don't think we're going to lose. I really do think that the Toronto Blue Jays lineup has been playing significantly better than that LA Dodgers lineup. 100%. Teo looked lost last night. He had 3 strikeouts, dude. He looked He was swinging at shit, way away. He was not looking good. Ohtani is a beast. You got to hope that Mookie Betts stays down. He did come up with a big hit yesterday. So you got to hope that he can kind of stay quiet. But ultimately, I just think that you're going to have great pitching from both sides today because everyone's going. I like our lineup slightly better than their lineup, so I'm going to say that the Blue Jays win this one.
Yeah, I got to go Blue Jays here. Jays in 7. I think it's going to be really interesting to see because I think they do match up really well against Glasnow. He's got a lot of miss in his delivery. right? And the Blue Jays feed off that. And then Ohtani, I mean, we looked pretty easy to us. We got his number, and he's on short rest. And if you want to throw Blake Snell, by all means, Dave Roberts.
Let's see if he gets unlucky again.
Let's see if he gets unlucky. So I actually genuinely love this matchup for the Blue Jays, and I love the pitchers we're throwing out. Like, yeah, that probably Max Scherzer's the weakest one, but Bieber looked great against the Dodgers in that game 4. And then you've got Jeff Hoffman, who's been an absolute dog, and then throw out Varland again. I don't care. He's been awesome. So with that being said, I say advantage Blue Jays for the pitching matchups, advantage Blue Jays in terms of the offense, advantage Blue Jays in terms of being at home at the Rogers Center. Blue Jays are going to win this one. I think we're going to celebrate tonight.
I hope that is the case, everybody. Let us know your thoughts about all this in the comments down below. Please hit that like, smash that subscribe button. $4 a month, become a YouTube member. Shout out and thank you to all of our current YouTube members. You guys are amazing.
Guys, let's win it all. Thank you so much for watching.
And as always, go Jays, go!